All right, hello everybody. This is a first ride out on the trail of my new 2022 Fezzari Kings Peak fat tire bike. Took it out to my local favorite trail, my go-to ride, and no snow. It's dirt out there still, but I have to tell you, this thing was freaking awesome. I loved it. I'd never been off-road on a fat tire bike before. And so I have no experience with other types of fat tire bikes, but I normally ride a Yeti full suspension SB 130, and boy, I tell you, this thing held up with that thing. This was awesome. I had a great time. I used my Specialized floor pump, and I was trying to hit right around 10 psi. It has kind of a start off point. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I do have a new tire pressure gauge coming that's got some pretty good reviews and supposed to get down pretty low on for the accuracy. But I'll tell you, if 10 psi was accurate, the back felt real good, and the front was a little bouncy with that rigid fork. But going down in psi maybe a little bit would help. But overall, it was a blast. It did really good. The learning curve of getting used to rolling these fat tires around corners, but it did great. There was, I've already wiped it off a little bit. There were a lot of horses out there on the trail today, and I came back with, tried to dodge as much of the horse manure as I could, but I got a little bit on there, but I think I got it mostly wiped off. Oh, there's a little bit. I got to get that. Overall, pretty great. I had put some orange aluminum water bottles on, cages on there. Worked out really good. I did, for my previous video, I went back and put I had some Shimano SPD pedals in a box had these on a tandem actually that we kind of don't ride as much. And so I put those SPDs on there. Of course, I'm so used to clipless that I had no problem with them. Loved it. The SRAM SX drivetrain worked great. I did have to do a little bit of tweaking. The cables, they stretch when they're brand new a little bit. So I had to unscrew this barrel adjuster just a little bit, a quarter of a turn or so out on the trail. I just do it while I'm riding. Not a problem. Started shifting pretty good. Yeah, it's not the highest end drivetrain, but overall, shifted pretty good. Didn't have too many problems with it. For the most part, hit all the shifts nice. I did have to raise the Fox dropper post just a little bit from where they had it set from the factory. But overall, I would say that the Fezzari folks did a great job of helping me get the right fit. Like I say, this one's the extra large frame. I've got almost a 36-inch inseam. And like I say, they called me and tell me I was kind of in between large and extra large, and like I say, I typically have that same problem, and so I always bump up the size. This just came after the ride. I run a Garmin out front computer mounts on all my bikes. Here's the pump that I decided to go with. I was a little afraid at first because everything online makes this Lezine pump right here look like it's really big, and I guess it is pretty big, but I was surprised at how, I didn't weigh it, but it felt very light, and I think that's going to come in handy if I ever have to do any trail side pump action. Get the tires, either fix a flat or adjust it to the tire pressure. The brakes worked great. These are those Clark's hydraulics. They had good stopping power. Time will tell. For this particular ride, it wasn't wet or anything, so no Brakes weren't squealing or doing anything crazy like that. The only thing I did do, I came back just a little while ago. The levers, the reach, they were a little farther out than I prefer. So I don't know if you can see, but there is a tiny little, I don't know what that is, like a 2 millimeter or so. You just turn that little screw, and inside, again, apologize for the light, but you can turn that little screw back and forth, and it'll adjust how far your brake levers will sit out before you. So I brought them in just a little bit. Okay, keep hitting the wrong button. The fit felt good. Like I say, I had a blast. I did about an hour and a half out there on the trail, and I was very impressed with how it rode. I didn't, wider on the bottom brackets with fat bikes. I personally didn't feel a noticeable difference at all. Maybe, I don't know, I'm taller, I'm a little over 6'1". Maybe a taller rider doesn't notice it as much, but I didn't have any issues at all. Other than that, I'd say that's about it for my first ride. I will admit I do have the fork was nice. Boy, it's light. The overall bike just feels nice and light, and I was amazed at how well it actually rolls. I was always expecting kind of a slow, heavy monster truck kind of feel, but this fat bike, and I'm sure it's just all fat bikes with similar size wheels, I was really amazed at how well it just cruised down the trail. Climbed great. The little rock garden that I climb up, I don't really have too many problems on my Yeti full suspension bike, but boy, these big tires, it's kind of nice. You can be a little less persnickety on on the path that you take up especially this rock garden area. Of course, every trail's a little different, but I was able to just kind of bomb right up and over stuff. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed it, and but I do admit that there was a Black Friday sale on the Manitou, had their Mastodon Pro shocks on sale from Manitou's website. So I am going to throw a Manitou front suspension fork on here. And of course I ordered that before I went on my ride, and then today you come back and you're going, geez, other than a few spots where it got pretty rocky and stuff, for the most part this thing, one could definitely argue, maybe I didn't really need to go with shocks. So anyways, here it is, and hopefully this will give some of you who are contemplating going with the Kings Peak a little more ammunition in your quest to maybe finally pull the trigger. Like I say, I was thoroughly impressed and really enjoyed that ride today. It was really cool. I hadn't been on a mountain bike ride in many years without some sort of suspension. And of course, these big fat cake eaters, you get a lot of squish compared to a normal mountain bike. But well, it was fun. It was almost like being back out, first time mountain biking kind of a feel. It was pretty cool. So there you go. All right, thanks for watching, and have fun out there. Bye.